Welcome to the Today Counts show. Today does count because it impacts, it influences your tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. The Today Counts podcast is sponsored by the generous donors of the Lead Today community. I'm your host, Tim Piper. Well, on this podcast, I want to talk about winning, and I want to talk about it because I think everybody likes to win. I'm not just simply talking about a game or sports. I'm talking about life, accomplishing goals, that sort of thing. And when I think about winning, one of the things that I cannot escape is the idea that those who seem to win the most are those who simply don't quit. They are resilient. But where does resiliency come from? Is it just something that we have, that you have, that one person has and another person doesn't? I suppose there's a measure of truth in that because how one is raised, what one has gone through, what one has developed, maybe even their temperament. But in a lot of ways, I think perspective is really what builds resiliency. There is a mindset. There is a way of thinking. There's a life philosophy. There is some sort of faith built in that it's worth trying. It's worth continuing on and not quitting. Let me pause for a minute and say this. I'm happy to say that last year was a good year for me, and I hope the same for you. But if you are willing to talk about goals one more time, if you're willing to talk about winning one more time, if you're willing to talk about that, then this podcast will be for you. I have developed a life philosophy, a perspective. And yes, it comes from my faith, but maybe it'll be helpful to you. So here it goes. Though I had a really good year, and as I said, I hope you had one too, it wasn't a perfect year. It wasn't a perfect year because life on this side of eternity doesn't work that way. And you know that by experience, but if you've also read your Bible lately, you know that that is really the story of humanity. We did some things to jack some things up. And this struggle, as good as life is, it comes with struggle. So we're not going to have perfect years. We're probably not going to have perfect months. I'm not even sure we're going to have a perfect week, but we do have good days and good weeks and good months and good years. But a lot of those things come from my perspective, having a resilient perspective. Now, I do want to say that the reason why I think I had a good year is because I did accomplish my one goal. You say, you only had one goal? Jim, you only had one goal? I only had one major goal, one big goal. It wasn't easy. And in fact, it was much more difficult to accomplish than I originally imagined. Now, isn't that though, think about it. Isn't that true with all worthy goals, with all big goals? Anything that's worth the pursuit, worth the effort, is usually big and it's usually hard and it doesn't come easy. But I am happy to report that I did accomplish my big goal. Now, maybe you didn't have a big goal, or maybe you did have a big goal and it didn't work for you. Maybe, again, this podcast will help. Now, like you, I am not a perfected human being, and I've given up hope in that. But I have learned to practice a resilient perspective, and I've mentioned that phrase multiple times already. So let me go into a little bit. A resilient perspective is a good perspective. It's a healthy perspective. It's a realistic perspective, but it embraces the ideas of thoughtfulness. That's not redundancy. It's thoughtfulness is one of the ideas of resiliency and perspective, self-awareness. Why do I feel the way I feel? Why do I do what I do? Do I even know what I'm doing right now? Am I aware of how it impacts me and how it impacts others? Self-leadership, gratefulness, and focus. Those are the cluster of words that I would associate with the idea of capturing a resilient perspective. Because if you can create a resilient perspective, you're going to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish in your life. Now, what I'm about to share with you works for me. It works for me. It's improved my batting average. It's made me look at hard things and take them on, conquer some of them, and still trying to conquer others. But it's given me the fuel that I need. It's proven to be helpful to me, but it's also proven to be helpful to many of my clients, particularly those that are hungry and teachable, that are open. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to ask you to right now imagine a dartboard, a target, particularly with circles on it. Now, in a dartboard, there are overlapping circles or rings. And this one that we're creating in our mind's eye has only three circles. The one in the middle, which we often call the bullseye, imagine that circle at the center of your target, but make it a little bigger than that little dinky bullseye. So make that maybe about a third of the size of that target, that dartboard. And let's call that inner circle, that circle in the middle, that inner circle. Let's label it. Let's label it your person, you. Let's label it your person. And I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. Then in our mind's eye, or, if you're a place where you can do this, it would be really helpful. Get out your journal and draw these things actually in your journal. Otherwise, whether you're running or you're walking or you're driving or you're cleaning house or whatever you're doing while you're listening to this podcast, you can do this in your mind's eye. So you've drawn the first circle. Now what we're going to do, and you've labeled the first circle you or your person. Make sure you say your person. And then draw another circle, but draw it around that inner circle, that center circle. So draw the next circle around the center circle. And let's go ahead and label that one or call that one your people. So the inner circle is your person. The next circle is your people. And we'll come back to that circle in just a minute also. Now let's draw one more circle. And you're drawing that circle around the last one that you just drew in your mind's eye or in your journal. So let's draw that. So now you have 3 circles. And on this last one, this larger circle, let's title that one or label that one your place. Your place. All right. So I want to talk about that inner circle first, the one in the middle, that bullseye, and the one that we've labeled your person. If you want to have a better life, you've got to work on your person. You've got to work on yourself. You are the most difficult person to lead. Did you know that? Of all the people in your life, it's not your teenager. It's not your toddler throwing a temper tantrum. It's not your wife. It's not your husband. It's not the people that work for you. It's not your cousins. It's not your neighbors. It's none of those people. The most difficult person to lead in your life is yourself. And that work never ends. If you will embrace these ideas, you're going to get stronger even as the seconds and the minutes tick by on this conversation. And talk back to me. Go ahead, think about it. Now, when you do work on your life, when you commit to work on you, the center of your people and the center of your place, when you commit to work on your life, you get better in every way. Now, I have found certain questions very helpful to me in the pursuit of working on me, working on myself, working on my person. And here's the first one. I asked myself this question: what in the heck am I doing with my life? What is the purpose of my life? What is my life's vision? What is my life's vision? Now, I can actually answer that for you. And my vision doesn't have to be your vision and yours mine. But one thing I do find is that when we do the hard work, our vision rarely is about material things. It's rarely about that. Once we can meet our basic needs, I find that our need for stuff grows less and less, and our need for something bigger than ourselves becomes more and more. My life's vision is to help good people win. That's one way I say it. Another way I say it is I'm on this planet to inspire faith in others, to help them shape their character, to help them shape their leadership. That's why I'm here. That's my purpose. And I began discovering that when I was 18 years old. I don't have time for that story. But you know what? I think I'll tell it anyway. When I was 18 years old, I was given the opportunity to coach a Little League baseball team because the coach had quit kind of mid-season. in a huff and didn't know much about baseball. And if you know anything about Little League baseball, you know how ugly that can get anyway and how political it is. And just to make a long story short, I got to take the Bad News Bears, and I do know a lot about baseball, and I love baseball, and I was able to encourage the kids and put the kids in the right places. And to make a long story short, we won the championship. We should not have won the championship. That team had lost every game prior to me being the coach, and we also lost the first 2 games when I was coach. And we did not win all the games in the second half, but we made it to the playoff. And when we won the playoff, watching those kids rush the mound and watching them then laugh and joy, and then the hats that went in the air and the gloves that went in the air, that was the beginning, because my chin began to buckle and tears came to my eyes. That's one example of how I began to realize that as much as I like to win, what really gets me going is helping other people win. That might sound altruistic to you, but I'll tell you, I'm one of those guys that I cry when somebody achieves something worthy. It's just true. And I also feel bad for those who tried hard and fall short. So how did I come to that conclusion in that little baseball story? And there's many other little stories. Well, I come to the conclusion of what my life's vision is by paying attention to my life, by paying attention to how God made me, by paying attention to the little stories all along life. You have them as well as I do. You have all kinds of little stories that if you pay attention to those little stories, you pay attention to the feelings and the emotions that goes through you, that you feel during those times and those stories. That's how you begin to understand what your life's vision is really about. And it creates new opportunities as you open your eyes to those things, opportunities right in front of you. As I said it before, what has helped me understand my life's vision is simply by noticing what makes me cry, both sad and happy tears, and simply by seeing the results of putting the work into those things. So that's the first question that I ask as I'm trying to build this better me, this better person, where I'm trying to focus on me. And it really can't be done, I don't think, without a faith relationship with God. Because if I didn't choose to be born, if I didn't choose to be created, but He chose to create me, and then doesn't it make sense that this discovery would happen by leaning into a faith relationship, that there is a God, that He not only made me, but He knows my name, He's involved in my life, and He cares about the things that I care about. And frankly, He gets tickled as I discover the different DNA attributes that He put into my soul. All right, so that's the first question. What is my life's vision? What's your life's vision? If you don't know what your life's vision is, you don't need to get down about it. Just begin walking down that road. Begin to wonder. Begin to ask yourself. Begin to think about the stories of your life and put that together. The second question I ask is that if I win nothing else over the next, and then you could fill in the blank, the next month, the next quarter, or the next year, I typically go by a year-by-year basis. But when I am in a slump, when I am struggling, I'll often shorten that time frame because I need to get wins. I need to feel like I'm getting momentum, so I might change it from a year to a month. But generally speaking, I say, all right, if I get nothing done, let's call it the year 2024, and I get nothing else done, what's the one thing that I will accomplish? What's the one thing that I want to accomplish? What is the one thing? The one thing. Now, like the previous question about what is my life's vision, this one requires a lot of thought as well. The power comes in the right answer, the answer that brings the greatest focus and the greatest commitment. But you know what? There's even more to this. When you identify one goal, not 2, not 3, not 5, not 10, but when you identify one goal achievement and you go after it with all of your faculties, you will notice many other good things will get done along the way. The problem with most goal setting is that we really don't know how to answer the question. If I can get nothing else done, what would I want to get done? A lot of us don't even know how to answer that question, so we end up coming up with either too many goals, which creates confusion, unrealistic expectations, and it waters down the potency of our power and ability to accomplish goals, or we just throw in the towel altogether and we stop setting goals because we don't like how losing feels. The third question I ask myself as I'm working on myself constantly, right, because that's the center of these three circles, is, all right, well, now that I've identified my life's vision and I've identified this shorter term goal, if nothing else gets done, I want to get this done. Then I ask myself this, well, what kind of person do I need to become in order to accomplish this goal and life vision? You see, perhaps the greatest outcome for achieving anything worthwhile is what it requires of you. It's how it changes you. That's how you grow and how you learn, how you stretch, how you accomplish what you thought you could never really accomplish, how the process matures and makes you better. Simply put, if you want a better marriage, for example, work on yourself. Trust me, if you want a better marriage, focus on you being a better spouse, and you'll be amazed. You'll be surprised what that does. If you want better results at work, work on you. Grow as a person, become a better employee, a better boss, a better teammate. Work on you. Make that your priority. And then you'll notice that it's contagious. When you work on you, other people start picking it up, and they at least begin following you by curiosity. And when you become a better person, when you become that better person and leader, everybody benefits. So the first perspective in life is that you're going to break life down into these three areas, and you're going to concentrate on these three areas. And the first one and the highest priority is you're going to focus on this faith relationship with God, becoming a better person, a focused person with a life vision and a goal. And that's how you're going to constantly visit that. So let's move on to the second circle, which we have labeled your people. Now, we all have dozens and maybe hundreds of people in our lives. It's overwhelming, isn't it? It's overwhelming sometimes, even for the extrovert, the exuberant extrovert who has the life motto of the more the merrier. Even the greatest extrovert cannot manage all of the relationships that could possibly come in their lives. The demands and expectations exceed our human capacity. And we make this reality worse because we just don't think about this category much. And if we do, it's only when we have problems with relationships that we start thinking about it. We don't live strategically and purposefully in this circle of our life. Because after working on ourselves, what's more important than the people in our lives? So I want to encourage you to consider the following ideas and incorporate them into your life's vision. Number one, I want you to choose your people. Choose who your people are going to be. I know that sounds discriminating, doesn't it? It definitely sounds discriminating, but that's the point. You must realize that you are limited. You have a limited capacity for meaningful relationships. And what you want is meaningful relationships. They don't all have to be at the same depth, but you do need to begin thinking more strategically about it. You can only be one place at a time. You can only really communicate and connect with one person at a time, at least at a deeper level. You can only do so much and be effective at it. You simply cannot please everyone, as if that should be the goal anyway, which you and I know that it's not. And if you do chase that goal, everybody's going to be disappointed. So consider this approach. Choose people who will help you. Boy, that sounds selfish, doesn't it? But you heard that right. Choose people who will help you. You cannot help anyone if you're not being helped yourself. If no one is speaking into your life, it's very difficult to speak into others' lives with any sense of richness and helpfulness. If no one is helping you carry your load and sharing your mission, then you're going to be empty and you won't have anything to give. So choose people who will help you, like mentors, like coaches, pastors, teachers, leaders, anyone who fills you, who helps you. And when you hire people, darn it, hire people who have both the capacity and the desire to help you be successful. Stop hiring people to give them a shot. Stop hiring people to help them. If you hire the right people, everybody wins. All will benefit. So have a high bar for those that you allow in your inner circle. Here's another thing I'd like you to consider as a completely separate category within this idea of your people is choose your family consciously, deliberately, right now in your mind's eye. Look at every single one, young to old, and by name, look them in their eyes and choose them. Say, I choose you. I choose to be your father. I choose to be your mother. I'm not just biologically that, or if I'm a step, then I choose you. Choose your parents. Choose these people. Make a conscious decision that you are choosing to love them. And what you will realize is that if you can lovingly and wisely navigate your emotions, affections, and influence within your family, you will be able to do it anywhere. To love or not to love your family is simply not a choice. It's not about what is easy. It's about what is right and what is good. It's about how God created things. Be part of the solution, not the problem. Be resilient, because this is one of 3 categories of your life. You can do this. If you take care of yourself, if you grow yourself, you've got something to pour into your family. It's about providing a place where your family can shelter from a world that is not always kind and certainly not forgiving. It is about creating safety in a sometimes dangerous place. So what have we said so far? First of all, choose your people. Choose people who will help you. Choose your family. And there's another category. Choose someone you can help. Choose someone you can help. I like the FAT rule. And if you haven't heard of the FAT word, it is an acronym for faithful, available, teachable. You see, I cannot help people who are looking for a handout. It's not how God made things. It's not how he designed things. I might be able to help some who are fat. They are demonstrating faithfulness. Faithfulness. Here's what that means to me. Maybe they have not had the opportunities I had. Maybe they don't know the people I know. Maybe they have not had these advantages, but they have been faithful with what they do have. They are grateful, but dissatisfied with their circumstances. In other words, they are hungry. They're hungry. They're available. And that shows itself by the fact that they are teachable. So faithful, available, and teachable. I cannot help the victim. Someone who's stuck in the victim mode, you can't help them. The one who believes that the world is against them, you can't help them. They are closed off to effort. They are closed to ideas. They believe in a fate that is out of their control. They lack faith. The truth is, I, for example, have always been zealous, ambitious, hardworking, with or without resources. Those are the kind of people that you can help. And that's who I'm looking to choose. And it's really fun to be able to help those that are willing to get in the game and have faith that you can work with. All right. So if my resilient perspective is I can break life down into 3 categories, my person and my people, we've already talked about a strategy and things that we can do to get better in those areas. And then there's really only one area in life, and that's simply our place, your context, where you're at. Your place can represent a season of your life. It can represent your physical reality, your job, a trial that you're going through, a difficult season that you're going through, the condition of your relationships, or even an addiction that you need to manage and perhaps overcome. Your place is where you and your people find yourselves. And if you work on yourself and you become more strategic and purposeful in your relationships, you're bringing all that power, all that positive power to win in your context, to win in your place. So as I did on the other 2 circles, your person and your people, let me suggest a couple of things to think about when it comes to your place. First of all, embrace your place. Would you stop looking over the fence? It's not going to do you any good. If it's a bad place, embrace it. Don't be a whiner, a quitter, or a victim. Consider all the factors of your context. Here's what I mean. Go ahead and call it the way it is. Identify the good, identify the bad, and identify the ugly. And that's okay to do that. That's what realistic people do. If you look past the ugly and pretend it's not there, you're lying to yourself. If it's there, acknowledge it. If the bad is there, acknowledge it. But be sure to also notice the good. Now, as you ponder these things, all of them, you're going to notice something that happens in your psyche. This is how, again, God designed you. If you will be realistic and take an inventory of your context, your place, everything, and then what begins to happen is you begin to envision what can be, how it can be better, how you can pull up, pull out, and pull away and make it a better place. That's what will happen if you're one of those that always has to find everything good in everything, that's not what I'm talking about. But if you're also somebody who sees bad in everything, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody who can recognize the good, recognize the bad, and recognize the ugly. There's something about that process that releases the power of God in you, then to begin to start seeing solutions, to first have hope and then have faith in the plans that you have laid. So as you see in your mind's eye what can happen, you will develop the steps to get there. Now, this is what we call leadership, problem solving. So don't run away from it. Nothing is to be gained by trying to remove yourself away from an uncomfortable spot to a comfortable spot without effort. That ambition to wish you were there, to jump over the fence, that ambition is foolish and immature at best. Human, but foolish and immature. And it will yield you more loss and more delays. That's what it will yield. That's the fruit that it will bear. Now, if it's a good place, make it better. And don't let this good time that you're in make you lazy and careless. Use what you've been given to make a difference in the world. All right, so embrace your place. The second thing that I want to encourage you to do is to remember that your place is temporary. On one hand, I want to challenge you to embrace your place as if you're going to be there forever. Drain every ounce out of it, every good. Just, believe that you own it, that you're there. You're not going to leave. You're going to do the best that you can. On the other hand, do not attach your identity to your place. Do not attach your identity to your opportunity. Do not attach your identity to your victory. Do not attach your identity to your loss. Nothing on this side of eternity lasts forever. There are controllables and uncontrollables. So do your best with the controllables and release yourself from the things that are completely out of your control, or even the majority out of your control. Enjoy every success, learn from failures, and move on to the next season and embrace that season, that place in your life. Let me give you some final thoughts. Much of resilience comes from having a reasonable and workable perspective, a way to go about life, a way to think about life. I would call it a biblical worldview, a Christian worldview. Breaking life down into these 3 circles of concentration will improve your mental health, your personal strength, your relationships, and your effectiveness, no matter what challenges you face. If you're not part of the Lead Today community, let me invite you. Go to leadtodaycommunity.com. That's leadtodaycommunity.com and sign up for Monday Moments. It's a weekly email that will encourage your leadership. Again, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for telling a friend about the Today Counts show.